This is The Reconnected Woman, hosted by Talia Sky. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of the Reconnected Woman podcast. We're going to jump straight into today's episode, and I'm a little bit nervous. I feel like I am someone who has a lot of opinions, but I don't love sharing them because I just don't love ruffling feathers. I don't love making anyone feel bad, and that is not my intention. But I also feel like speaking your truth is one of the most powerful things that you can do on this planet. And I also know that it filters out people that are not necessarily aligned, and it welcomes in people who are aligned and who are on the same page. And everything that I say is just my opinion. It doesn't mean it is the truth. And I also just want you to know that you are allowed to disagree with certain things that I say. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. It doesn't mean you're right. And it doesn't mean that you're wrong or I'm right. It's just things that I feel. So I'm going to read a little list of, well, it's actually a big list, but unfiltered opinions I have right now. Okay, we're going to start off strong here. A lot of your favorite fitspos have distorted patterns, disguised as discipline. So I'm going to say that again. A lot of your favorite fitspos have distorted patterns disguised as discipline. The reason I can say this is because I have been there and I can spot it from a mile away. Now, when I was in the thick of this, I actually didn't know. I didn't know I had disordered behaviors. It wasn't until I became who I am today and I came out of that I realized, holy shit, a lot of the things that I was preaching were probably a little bit disordered at the time. And so there is so much wrapped up in discipline where it's like, that's actually not really that healthy. And this is not for everyone, but there's some people out there, like you see some coaches who are constantly dieting, have a really poor relationship with their body, cannot accept a little bit of weight gain. They eat out of their container 365 days a year. And the issue with this is because they are praised for being disciplined, it is swept under the rug. And a lot of people don't realize how many hormonal issues that these people have, gut issues, poor relationship with food, like they actually have anxiety to go and eat a meal out, right? Now, because they look fit and they have the abs and they have the body, again, not many people really bat an eye. And the scary part is a lot of them are like fitspos, like influencers or coaches. And a lot of the time they are the ones that do actually have quite a lot of issues that they're then passing onto their clients, right? And there's a lot of incredible coaches and people out there. I'm not saying that that is everyone, but I can definitely see through a lot of people's behaviors, their insecurities, their poor relationship with food, their poor relationship with their body. And again, they're smashing their body 7 days a week, doing insane amounts of cardio and insane amounts of training and under eating and starving their bodies all the time. And again, they're just praised for it. And that can be a really dangerous territory because it becomes normalized. And a lot of people do come out on the other end and are like, well, it's very hard to then accept their bodies when they are a little bit bigger, and then they make themselves wrong for it. So just be careful. Just be cautious with that one. The second thing is, which kind of ties into that one, is the people who look the healthiest on Instagram aren't always healthy internally. I've seen incredible physiques with terrible blood work. Same situation, like a lot of the people that have the really defined abs and who look the part often have a lot of the most unhealthy habits. There's a lot of people on PEDs and so like performance enhancing drugs, which again, I don't really care what anyone does, but I'm just saying a lot of people like don't realize what is actually going on in their body internally. There is a lot of like inflammation, gut issues, hormonal imbalances. A lot of these people don't have periods. Okay, the people that you look up to do not have healthy menstrual cycles. And I think it's just understanding that, for yourself. And again, this is not to say that's everyone, but there are a lot of people out there that look the part, but internally it just paints a whole different picture. And I just wish there was more coaches out there that just had, how do I word it? Just like to you, it might feel like an average physique, but if you looked at their relationship with food and the way that they lived their life and the values that they have and how they treat themselves and their blood work, like that to me is a lot more inspiring. And back in the day, I didn't think like this. I thought I'd always go with the person who was the fittest and the most inspiring and who was super disciplined because I wanted that until I got there and I'm like, holy shit, I've never felt worse. Okay. Basic movement like walking should be a part of your normal life. If we don't make space for even 20 to 30 minutes, it's worth questioning where our health actually sits in our priorities. This should not be a goal, right? Going for a walk every day should not be a goal. You should not feel like that is super productive. It should just be a given, and I think a lot of people don't realize how sedentary we are in today's society and how important movement is and going for a walk is. That just shouldn't even be an option. Should I go for a walk today or should I not? Like, it should just be a part of your life. And don't even get me started on people who own dogs and don't take them for daily walks. Like, those dogs are cooped up all day. That is the most exciting part of their day. And I just think a lot of people would be far healthier. I said that weird. A lot of people would be far healthier if they looked at movement, like training and going for a walk or doing whatever type of movement they want. Go to the pool. I've been going to the pool lately, guys. I've been swimming. It feels really good on my pregnant body. But it shouldn't actually be a goal. It should just be a given, if you value your health. The other thing is, I actually think everyone should track their calories and macros at least once in their life. And the reason being is I think a lot of people severely underestimate how much they are eating or how little they are eating. Now, without awareness, sometimes we just don't really understand what our body requires. I am so grateful that I have tracked and I have learnt about food and macros and micronutrients, not from the standpoint of needing to control everything, but from the standpoint of going, oh, I actually need this amount of fats and I need this amount of protein. It is so helpful in your life, and I do not think everyone needs to track forever. I think a lot of people should actually be intuitive eating, but at least in one point of your life, because here's the thing. I remember back in the day when I had no idea about macros or calories or anything, every time I'd try to diet, I would cut everything out. I would go vegan. I'd cut meat out. My dinner would literally be frozen vegetables with a bit of feta, right? Like, where's the protein? Definitely not enough healthy fats. And so tracking for me actually made me realize how to nourish my body properly. And so now that I'm in this intuitive phase, I really understand my body's requirements. I remember last year at some point, when I was trying to get more healthy fats in, I tracked for a little bit and I was like, holy shit, I'm severely undereating healthy fats. I didn't even realize, okay? So what I then did was tracked for a couple of weeks, learnt how to get more fats into my day. Then I stopped tracking again because I knew, okay, cool, this is what my body requires. I also had a client recently who had been intuitive, started tracking again, realized she was just eating far too little because she was eating healthier. And so her tracking for a little bit brought her food back up, now doesn't need to track again. I also found that I was constipated at some point last year, and I was like, that's weird. I'm eating a lot of good food and fibrous food, so I chucked it into the app and realized, oh, I'm actually not eating nearly enough fiber. So again, if we can actually do it from an awareness lens and understands our body's needs and requirements, it doesn't have to come from this toxic place. And I also think there's a time and place. Like tracking in deficits can be really beneficial as well if you want the best result possible. But a lot of people demonize tracking, especially when they fall into this other area of like optimization and health and connecting to your body. But sometimes if you don't know better, it's very hard to understand. And so I know as well, like how much calories contain certain things, and not from a toxic standpoint, but I know probably not going to have a massive bowl of granola with some milk because that's just a fuckload of fats and there's no protein and there's no real goodness in that. Well, there is goodness, but like, do you know what I'm saying? So instead it's like I have a bowl of yogurt, which has protein, and then I'll top it with granola, which has the nuts and the seeds. But it's understanding my body's requirements and also making sure I'm not then stacking on all this weight or under eating. So yeah, I think tracking can definitely be beneficial, and learning even just portions and about macronutrients, even if you're not tracking, just learning about it, it is a tool that you will have for life. Okay, so women are not designed for the hustle. of what society has now come to. The constant doing is burning our bodies out. We are not men, okay? We cannot keep up with men. I know that a lot of women who are very masculine and independent probably don't want to hear this, but I believe that this is the root cause of a lot of health issues. The low libido that most women are experiencing these days. Pretty much every blood analysis, women have low libidos. And the fertility issues that we are experiencing. We have come out of our feminine and we've had to be masculine because we are trying to keep up and almost compete with men, and society has been built off a lot of men. And when we look at biology, again, women are not men. Now, we are fucking awesome. Like, women are superheroes to me. The fact that we can grow babies and birth babies, and we are expected to be in work, but then raise children and then do all the house work. Like, there's a lot that we're doing. And I think that this, again, is the root of a lot of issues. Now, men are built on a 24-hour cycle, okay? They can do a lot more because they're very consistent, right? You might notice with your partner, he doesn't really have these big mood swings. Like, he's kind of just flatlined, depending on stress and things like that. Women, different story. Each month, each week, we are changing significantly in how we feel, right? In our PMS, we have far less capacity. We have far less energy. When we have our bleed, that's a whole different story. When we have our ovulation, we feel way better. And so we can't keep as consistent, and that is okay. And when women can actually learn that and step more into their feminine, and this is not to say women can't work and be high achievers and do amazing things in the world. That is not what this conversation is about. But I think a lot of women are pushing against their biology, and they're trying to keep up with something in a world that is not necessarily designed for them or their biology or their bodies. So strive for more, push yourself, do whatever makes you happy, but make sure you're listening to your body. Make sure you understand that you do require more rest. Okay, you through different phases of your cycle are going to require different things. And this is, I don't really believe in cycle syncing. I think just listen to your body and understand your capacity. But I'm just seeing more and more and more health issues with women and declining rates of fertility and things like that. And it doesn't surprise me. And like I said, women have been so pushed into their masculine because they've kind of had to, or they've tried to prove people wrong and be like, no, I can do this and I can keep up. And yeah, that is my opinion on that one. Okay. You do not need a red light mask or a vibration plate or a fancy gadget if you're not even sleeping properly, eating real food, or managing stress. Now, I love a biohack. I love red light therapy. I love all these things, but too many people are trying to jump to the fancy stuff without even mastering the basics. Now, I just did a group program called the Health Reset, and I think a lot of women came into it probably thinking that there was going to be so many tasks and so many things to do, and I think they were probably shocked with how easy it actually got to be and how simple things do get to be as well when you just focus on the basics. And I think that's something that I do really well, is like I simplify health, you know? And I had this message from one of the girls today because we finish up today with the Health Reset. And she just said, this challenge has honestly been incredible for me. I didn't realize how much I needed it until I was actually in it. The structure, support, and the way you explain everything has made it feel achievable instead of overwhelming. She said, I've learned so much about my body, my habits, and how to look after myself better, especially around stress, nutrition, knowing when to slow things down. She said a lot more, but the reason I'm telling you that is because like she can now integrate and implement and make things achievable in her life. I think a lot of people are trying to do this like 20-step process and this 20-step morning routine, and they're adding the vibrational plates on and they don't even know why they're doing it. It's just like a trend. And again, if you want, this is not a shade to anyone who wants to do it. I'm in the place in my life where I definitely could add it in because I'm doing all the right things and I've nailed the basics and I've mastered the foundations and I would know why I'm doing it. But half of you guys just need to eat whole foods. Half of you guys need to sit out in the sun, stop doing all the time, like regulate your nervous system. And I think a lot of people are quite shocked with how incredible the results are that they can get and how incredible they can feel with doing a whole lot less. So you don't need that 20-step routine if you are not eating a vegetable or some steak, in my opinion. I don't think credentials alone mean someone is living or embodying health. We need to think critically about who we take advice from. Massive, right? Massive, massive, massive. There are a lot of people out there who are just incredibly incongruent. And I will say that this is why I am very selective with who I take advice from, especially within the health space. You don't need to judge on appearance, but if someone is trying to talk about health to you in a way, yet they are an incredibly unhealthy person, and I'm just gonna, am I gonna say it? I feel like I need to. Like going into the doctor's office and you have a doctor who is incredibly overweight, does not care about their health, does not even sit in the sunshine at all, just takes medication every time they feel a little bit sick. That to me is not someone, just because they've been studying for 7 years and they have the credentials, like they don't necessarily know my body better than I do, and I just need to be selective with who I take that advice from. They are very knowledgeable and experienced in certain fields, but I just think that people need to be careful with who they're taking advice from. And this is also coming back to the first topic today, which was like how a lot of coaches have a lot of disordered patterns. And we just don't know about it, you know, and everyone has struggles. Like there's psychologists out there that actually have the worst mental health. And like, that doesn't mean you can't listen to them. They can still have great advice. Like I go through struggles in my life, but that doesn't take away from my coaching ability. But I think it's more the congruency piece of like, are you actually doing anything about it? Are you helping yourself? So just because someone has a certificate or has been at uni for longer doesn't make someone who hasn't, maybe even more credible with what they can do for you. I think lived experience and embodiment is like one of the most important things. Okay, modern lifestyle is lowering testosterone and vitality in a lot of men. And I think we're seeing the ripple effect of that in relationships and energy. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but a lot of the younger society don't really want to work hard anymore. Like Ash, my husband, he has his heating and cooling business. It is so hard to get good workers these days, and young apprentices and things like that actually want to do the work. A lot of men have become very like precious. I don't even like talking about this stuff, but there is a massive decline in testosterone. And testosterone obviously is a very important hormone for men. And you were just seeing it with the lack of sun exposure, them sitting inside all days in their office jobs and things like that. They're not working out. And it's causing them to become a lot more feminine. And that's then forcing women to be in their masculine. And that's then causing a lot of issues in relationship dynamics and things like that. And like I said, we're kind of seeing declining rates and even men wanting to do trades works and stuff these days because they don't have the energy for it because of their testosterone. And I don't care if people are tradies or not, but I have noticed it, and I have seen a lot of like work ethic go down, respect go down, relationship dynamics, like chivalry is kind of dead, you know, little things like that. And men wanting to step into that more provider role and taking care of their woman, and that's a whole nother conversation, but not to say that that has to be for everyone, but I just think that it's like slowly dying. That then ties into something that kind of relates with that, but I personally resonate a lot with more traditional roles, and I never really had come around to this probably until the last year. I personally want a masculine partner who provides, and a female dynamic where I can nurture and create a home. And that's just what feels aligned for me. I came from a single mum who had to be the dad and the mum. She was incredibly masculine. She then met my stepdad, but it was always like, why do I have to cook? And why do I have to clean? And you should have to do this. And I understand because she was doing too much. She was trying to work and do this and do that. And it was a lot. But I then had this really negative association towards a lot of the female tasks. And I was like, yeah, well, why does the woman have to do this? Why does she have to cook and clean? And I just then came into it and I'm like, oh, like maybe I want to do these things for my husband. You know, maybe I actually do want to do the cooking and do the cleaning and nourish his body and take care of him, because then he's going to take care of me in different ways. And he doesn't like provide for us in the sense of like I work, I make my own money, I would say. But if I do want to step into that role where I do pull back a little bit in my next season and I'm not taking on as much and maybe my income does dip, I know that he is going to take care of us. And a lot of women just don't have that opportunity, and that, that's fine with their relationship. And some women have the men stay at home and they are the hustlers. And I think that's fucking awesome if that aligns with you. But I've just realized how much more I have favored that gender role, where it's like women have this innate ability to be amazing home carers and nurture and love and nourish, and like they just have this feminine touch that men a lot of the time may not have. And men have this like masculine ability to like take care and provide. And when I say provide, it doesn't mean monetary all the time. It's like safety and just little things like that, and that has worked really well for our dynamic. And I'm really shifting into that role. And I actually feel privileged to be able to cook food for my husband and take care of him. And back in the day, I hated it. And I'm like, well, why do I have to do your meal prep? And we'd have different meals and he'd cook his and I'd cook mine, and everything felt very separate. Whereas ever since I've stepped more into that, it's funny, I say traditional role, but I still work and I still do all those things, but just being more accepting with what I'm doing and making that choice and having that conversation, it has made our relationship so much better. And I think it's really helped us stepping into this next season of motherhood, because I'm okay with that. But again, like, I think that you choose whatever you want to do. I love the women that work and the men that stay at home. Like, that's such a slay. You guys do you, but I have just found that I really do value that traditional role more, and I'm really glad that I opened my eyes to it. And that's why sometimes you've got to sit with yourself and just ask, like, what feels right for me? Do I need more help and support, and my men help more with these things, or do I want to just step into that and they step into this? There's no right or wrong. It's really what feels good for you. Okay, medication absolutely has its place, but I think lifestyle, nourishment, and nervous system health are often overlooked before jumping straight to prescriptions. You guys know I'm massive on this one, but a lot of people are just getting pills like it's candy and are not ever stopping to look at their lifestyle factors. They're not ever looking at, am I actually nourishing my body with quality food? Am I actually getting any sunlight? How is my sleep, right? It's like, it's so easy to be handed these things. I think there 100% is a time and place. Like, I've got some clients, I think I've said this to you guys on the potty before. I've got some clients who, some of the healthiest people I know, they train consistently. They go for walks every day. They get a lot of sunlight exposure. They nourish their body with quality food. They do the work. They also struggle with their mental health and their anxiety is very high. And so for them, going on medication was the next step for them. And what I love about that is they tried a lot of things before. They do a lot of good things. And then that was the second step for them. And that's worked really well for them. Same with like ADHD medications and things like that. These people are doing a lot of the right things. I think where it becomes an issue is before you even look at the things that are going to make you feel good, because I feel like I'd feel horrible. Like, I have one day of not going in the sun and not eating nourishing food, and I feel like shit. My mental health declines significantly, right? And so I think if we can just try these things more, or even just get to the root of things before jumping to medications, I think the world would be a much better place. But again, you can discern when you need these things. Like, some people are just at that point where they just need it, and that's perfect too. If the first thing you think about is calories instead of what you're actually putting into your body, there's probably some disconnection there. People have become so much more concerned about what a calorie is or how many calories a meal has that they're not looking of the value that it provides. This was me. Like, I did not eat steak. I did not eat chicken thigh. I did not eat a lot of nourishing whole foods because I was scared of the calorie content. And I'd be like, why would I have a big steak where I can have way more chicken breast? There's not a whole lot of nutrients in a chicken breast when you compare it to what a steak can provide. And I think that is an issue because a lot of people are just not caring what they're putting into their bodies. I did not care what I put into my body. All I cared about was, how many calories does this have? And that led to a lot of disordered patterns, a lot of hormonal imbalances, not nourishing my body, the gut issues. Like, I can't even deal with how many gut issues people have because of this. So it's okay to understand calories. And if you're on a deficit, of course, you have to think twice about things. But don't choose the lowest calorie option all the time, and don't be fearful of having quality meats and quality foods just because they do contain more calories. Okay. And then on the other side of that, being terrified of certain ingredients to the point you can't enjoy a meal out with friends isn't health. That can become another form of disordered thinking. Okay, so there are some people out there that do swing the pendulum too far to the other side of health, and they are then wrapping that up in kind of healthy living. But I think things become unhealthy if you are so stressed to eat a meal out with your friends because it might have a seed oil, right? We live in a world where we are going to be exposed to certain things at times. And if that is like your massive value and you don't want to do those things, I mean, that's fine. But I have noticed that there are some like health gurus out there that are petrified to have a meal out with their friends. And they're petrified to eat off a nonstick pan at a restaurant. And you know, we're exposed to things in this world, and I think it's always about the place it comes from. So for me, I would say I'm a very healthy person and I do prioritize things, but I also prioritize my soul. And at times, sorry, that looks like having a meal out and not having the most optimal option. And coming back to like what I'm actually doing things for. This is to be my happiest and healthiest self. And I've healed my body significantly, and I feel amazing with still doing little things here and there. And it's not to say people have to, but again, it's always the place that it's coming from. Are you then so fearful to eat foods that aren't healthy because you're actually fearing weight gain or feeling a little bit puffy or whatever the story is? Again, like in your body, you will know what place you're doing it from. But I think some people can take health too far and actually be really unhealthy with their behaviors and how they actually feel day to day. You don't need a million snacks a day. A lot of people think they need to constantly eat and constantly have snacks. I don't think our bodies are designed to constantly eat. We do need a point in the day where we're letting things digest and clear properly. If you feel like you need a million snacks every day, I would say there's a really high chance you're not eating enough quality whole foods. I would be having 3 to 4 main meals and then have a few snacks. But if you are a snacking machine, again, like actually look at your day and how it's structured. Are you getting a lot of nutrient dense quality foods in? Because that is going to play a massive role in like overeating or constantly snacking. And again, you want to give your body a chance to digest and break food down properly. Okay, we've just got 3 more. This one I'm a little bit scared to say, but I'm just going to say it. If you are putting the pill in your body just for contraception, maybe be responsible with other methods. And I'm a bit scared to say that because I know a lot of women do this, but I think a lot of women who are on contraception just not to get pregnant need to understand the damaging effects that can actually happen to your body being on the pill. A lot of the blood analysis and health protocols that I do, you can spot who's on the pill from a mile away from the issues that they have. There is so many other methods that are more natural of contraception that you can choose that are really going to support your body. So some people do need to go on the pill or choose to for different reasons. But I think if it's just for contraception alone, you just need to be a bit more responsible in the methods that you are choosing, such as tracking your ovulation, measuring your temperature. If you want to use condoms. Whatever way you choose, there's a million different ways you can choose, but don't always default to the pill just for that reason alone. I was on the pill for 10 years for that reason. So I can speak to this. 10 years. You know, when I was 14 and I got with my husband, so yes, he was my first and we have been together for that entire time. When my mum found out we were dating, she took me to the doctors and she said, go on the pill for contraception. And I stayed on it ever since. I had no issues with my period. I had no acne. I had no reason to be on the pill for that long. And the damaging effects that happened to my body, I just wish I looked at other methods, right? I think it's such a default blanket band-aid thing that you just get thrown on and you never question it and you never understand the effects that can actually happen. And through me actually seeing internally what happens to a lot of people, I just can't help but say it and mention it. Pregnancy has a way of revealing the habits you were quietly band-aiding before. Bit of a controversial one there too. So this isn't for everyone, But I think a lot of unhealthy habits do come out in pregnancy that probably were there prior to pregnancy. And maybe you had been band-aiding them because you were super disciplined and you had the energy. Maybe you did always have a bit of a poor relationship with food. And then when you did get pregnant, it just kind of shined a light on that. I think that has been really evident for me. I know for a fact if I hadn't done the work that I had done prior to pregnancy, it would have revealed a lot for me. And I don't think that has to be a bad thing. It can actually be such a awesome lesson for certain behaviors and things that you maybe need to heal and things that you maybe need to work on postpartum. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think it can show you a lot of potentially things that you hadn't healed, potentially what you're letting pass because of that. That's my opinion on that one. And then lastly, my loves. There are actually good foods for your health and bad foods for your health. This doesn't mean you can't have them. People are always like, there's no good or bad foods. I used to preach this to my core. The reality is there actually are foods that are really good for you and there are foods that are really shit for you and your body. You shouldn't be afraid of that, and it shouldn't be something that you are scared of. Like, I eat foods that are bad for me all the time, right? Like, as I was saying in pregnancy, I love a Mackey's brekkie. I might have a hash brown and a bacon and egg McMuffin on the weekend. The hash browns, they're not so good for me. They have a lot of canola oil. They're probably not great, but I still eat them and I love them. But it's about just understanding these things and knowing that we do have better nutrient-dense foods, that are going to support your body and make you thrive. And then you're going to have other foods that make you feel yucky and bloated and fatigue and mess your gut and mess your digestion and cause bloating and cause acne and cause fatigue. And we just have to be aware of it. And so it's not to say you can't have these foods, but it's just understanding that maybe your ratio will change a little bit, where it's like, cool, I'm going to have these foods that are really good for my body and that support my body 80% of the time. And then 20% of the time, I'm going to have these foods that maybe aren't so great for my body, but they're great for my soul and they make me happy. And I think that's a really good place to be, is just understanding it from an awareness lens. But just, understanding that I think is important. And a lot of the things that I believed back in the day, I have changed my mind on. So if any of you guys resonate with any of this or whatever that may be for you, I would love to hear from you. I always love chatting in the DMs. I'm glad I did this episode, I think, but they are just some of my opinions. I will see you in the next episode.